The architecture of the world isn't built on fairness. You can offer absolute honesty to every soul you meet and still find yourself facing the sharp edge of betrayal. It is a harsh reality. No matter how high you climb or how refined your skills become, someone with half your merit may still occupy the seat you've earned. That is the baseline of existence. However, those who stop lamenting this reality and start navigating it are the ones who survive. And those who survive eventually dictate the rules. This is an invisible currency of power that everyone feels but few can name. We call it dark intelligence. Dark intelligence isn't a gift. It is a byproduct of being forged in the fires of betrayal, humiliation, and defeat. Where most people allow these experiences to shatter them, you use the remnants to build an impenetrable psychological fortress. This is the intelligence that prioritizes observation over noise. It watches, it listens, it remains silent, and then it strikes with surgical precision at the exact moment of maximum impact. While the masses exhaust themselves in empty arguments, you are busy harvesting their data. While they surrender to their anger, you are calculating the variables. While they are drowning in the chaos of their own emotions, you are architecting the next decade of your life. Most people are playing a casual game of checkers. You are about to master the grand chessboard of human behavior. But before we venture further, let me establish a fundamental boundary. This knowledge is designed for your protection, not for the destruction of others. It is a shield to defend your sovereignty, not a weapon to be wielded against the innocent. The objective here is to master the rules of the game so you never find yourself as its pawn. Today, we will dissect the 8 psychological pillars that distinguish the survivor from the victim, the leader from the perpetual follower, and the victor from the defeated. Before we begin, I want you to anchor your mindset. Leave a comment below with this affirmation. I choose to be strategically intelligent, not emotionally reactive. Now, let us peel back the layers of influence that the powerful would prefer you never discover. Number 1, calculated opacity. Never allow your full intentions to be transparent. Disclose only the fragments that are functionally necessary to move the needle. When you provide people with only half the narrative, their minds instinctively race to fill the void with their own assumptions. It is their own imagination, not your words, that eventually begins to govern them. As Machiavelli observed, everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Consider the most magnetic individuals you've encountered. They're never an open book. They leave deliberate gaps in their history and often meet a direct question with a nuanced counter-question. They might offer a smile where an explanation is expected. This isn't about deception. It is about the mastery of strategic communication. In a typical conversation, most people feel a nervous obligation to provide a complete, unfiltered answer the moment they are asked. They pour out their motivations, their private fears, and their blueprints for the future. They mistake this vulnerability for building trust, but in reality, they are hemorrhaging their personal power. The strategically minded understand that mystery is the fuel of influence. When you withhold, you invite curiosity. Curiosity naturally matures into interest. Interest evolves into a form of respect, and respect is the foundation of genuine influence. Consider a mundane example. Someone asks about your weekend. The average response is, "I'm just staying in, watching some movies." While honest, it is entirely transparent and instantly forgettable. Conversely, saying, "I have something significant to attend to," before shifting the topic creates an entirely different gravity. The first answer makes you a known quantity, predictable. The second makes you a variable, interesting. This doesn't require rudeness. It requires selectivity. The titans of every industry understand this. They reveal just enough to maintain engagement, but never so much that they lose their edge. Your information is your capital. Do not spend it in a single transaction. When you embrace calculated opacity, the world begins to listen more intently to what you do say, because they recognize that your words are a rare and deliberate currency. Your goal is to retain command over your own narrative and your social dynamics. Number 2, The adaptive persona. You are not a static monument. You are a fluid force. You must learn to calibrate your personality based on the frequency of the person standing before you. People may believe they know the real you, but in truth, they only know the specific version of you that was most effective for that interaction. Machiavelli advised that a leader must ensure nothing slips from his lips that isn't seasoned with mercy, faith, integrity, and humanity, so that he appears to be the embodiment of these virtues to those who watch him. This isn't being fake, it's being effective. You already do this subconsciously. You don't speak to your grandparents with the same vernacular you use with your closest friends. You don't walk into a high-stakes interview with the same energy you bring to a party. You naturally emphasize different facets of your identity depending on the environment. The adaptive persona simply takes this instinct and makes it an intentional strategy. Every individual operates on a different set of values and communication styles. If you apply a one-size-fits-all approach, you will resonate with a few and alienate the rest. The intelligent observer studies their counterpart. Is the person across from you analytical? Then feed them data. Are they driven by emotion? Then speak to their heart. Are they practical? Show them the mechanics. Are they visionary? Then paint the horizon. This isn't manipulation. It is high-level communication intelligence. Think of water. It takes the shape of the vessel it inhabits, yet its chemical essence never changes. Whether it is in a glass or a vast lake, it remains water. Your persona is the vessel. Your values are the water. The common mistake is the belief that authenticity requires being identical in every room. True authenticity isn't about rigid consistency. It's about remaining rooted in your core principles while adapting your expression to be heard. When you master the adaptive persona, you gain the ability to build a bridge to anyone. People feel an immediate, intuitive connection with you because you're finally speaking their native tongue. This skill is your greatest asset in negotiation, leadership, and long-term networking. You aren't forcing the world to understand you. You are making it effortless for them to follow you. But a word of caution, never adapt so deeply that you lose the thread of who you are. Your integrity and your non-negotiable standards must remain fixed. Only the presentation should be subject to change. The most powerful individuals are like diamonds. They have dozens of facets that catch the light differently, but at the center, they are one unbreakable stone. Number 3, the principle of detachment. You must refuse to be a prisoner to any single relationship, emotion, or outside opinion. What you're not afraid to lose can never be used to control you. If it cannot bind you, it cannot manipulate you. Machiavelli famously noted that since love and fear can rarely coexist, it is far safer to be feared than loved. In the context of dark intelligence, detachment is often misunderstood as being cold. It isn't coldness, it is sovereignty. Most people are tethered to their attachments. They fear losing their income, so they endure toxicity. They fear losing a partner, so they compromise their soul. They fear losing social approval, so they repeat whatever the crowd wants to hear. Fear of loss is the ultimate weakness. Freedom from that fear is the ultimate power. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop being desperate. Picture two people in a high-stakes negotiation. Person A desperately needs the deal to close. Their entire future is riding on it. Person B would like the deal to work, but they have 3 other options waiting. They're perfectly willing to stand up and walk away if the terms are unfavorable. Who holds the leverage? Person B, every time. Their lack of attachment allows them to negotiate from a position of absolute strength. Detachment grants you the gift of clarity. When you aren't emotionally invested in being right, you can see the truth of a situation. When you aren't starving for validation, you make superior choices. When you are comfortable in your own solitude, you choose better companions. The great paradox of life is that the less you need something, the more naturally it flows toward you. Consider truly confident people. Their poise doesn't come from a guarantee of success. It comes from the knowledge that they will be fundamentally okay even if they fail. This is an excuse for indifference. You should still pursue your goals with relentless intensity and love the people in your life deeply. But you must never allow an outcome to cloud your strategic judgment. Detachment is your armor against manipulation. If someone threatens to take away something you have already let go of in your mind, their threat has no traction. While the person with nothing to lose is dangerous, the person who has everything to gain but nothing to fear is truly unstoppable. Practice this in small increments. Don't be attached to winning every trivial argument. Don't be attached to being liked by people you don't even respect. Don't be attached to a plan that is clearly failing. As you cultivate this, you'll notice a shift. People will treat you with a new level of gravity. They sense that you cannot be easily leashed, and that realization commands respect. Detachment is about caring for the world without letting the world own you. Number 4, silent leverage. Real influence doesn't require direct pressure. It requires patience. You wait for the moment of vulnerability, and then your silent presence becomes the most significant force in the room. Machiavelli stated that nothing great was ever achieved without some element of danger. Most amateurs think power is loud. They believe it's about shouting, making demands, and posturing. That is a performance, not power. True power speaks in a whisper, if it speaks at all. Silent leverage is the sophisticated art of steering a situation without ever putting your hand on the wheel in public. It's about positioning yourself so that your very existence shifts the equilibrium. Instead of issuing orders, you engineer environments where people want to do exactly what benefits you. You don't demand respect. You make yourself so indispensable that they have no choice but to offer it. You don't fight for power. You wait until they hand it to you willingly. Let's look at the mechanics of this. In a conversation, silent leverage is the power of the pause. Most people are terrified of silence and will fill it with whatever words come to mind, often revealing secrets or weaknesses they never intended to share. If you are comfortable in that silence, you dictate the tempo. The next time you're asked a difficult or provocative question, do not rush to fill the air. Pause. Look at them with calm, thoughtful eyes. Let the silence hang for 3 or 4 seconds, and then give your measured response. Watch how much more weight those words carry. In a negotiation, silent leverage is having an option B that you never have to mention. If the other party knows you aren't trapped, they will treat you differently. You don't have to threaten to leave. Your willingness to leave is palpable. In personal relationships, silent leverage is being the person who consistently adds value without begging for a thank you. When you make someone's life demonstrably better, they naturally fear losing you. You don't have to ask for loyalty. You earn it through your quiet consistency. In a professional setting, it's about becoming the person people instinctively turn to for solutions. You don't need a title to be the problem solver if you're the one actually solving the problems. Eventually, the title will chase you. The secret to silent leverage is the rejection of instant gratification. You are planting seeds and trusting the harvest. You are making long-term investments in influence. This requires a radical mindset shift. You must be comfortable with being the quiet architect behind the scenes. When you master this, people start coming to you for guidance without you ever offering it. They seek your approval without you ever asking for it. You become the gravitational center of your circle, shaping outcomes without anyone realizing your hand was ever there. But remember the ethics of this. Silent leverage should be used to create win-win scenarios. The highest use of this power is to influence people toward decisions that are genuinely good for them and a collective. You aren't tricking them, you're guiding them. It is not a passive state. It is a strategic, quiet movement. Number 5, the psychological echo. This is the art of reflecting a person's deepest needs and fears back to them. They will believe you're speaking their language, but in reality, you're gaining an intimate understanding of their internal map. Machiavelli observed that men judge more by what they see than what they feel. Everyone can see what you appear to be, but few know the reality. The psychological echo is about becoming a mirror. This isn't about being deceptive. It's about deep, empathetic comprehension. People don't actually buy things or ideas. They buy the fulfillment of a desire or the resolution of a fear. When you can mirror those needs back to them, you become a person of immense value. Most fail at this because they are too busy waiting for their turn to talk. To master the echo, you must become a student of human nature. You must recognize that every person you meet is carrying a set of unspoken burdens and secret aspirations. Your task is to listen for the subtext. When someone complains about their job, they aren't just sharing a fact. They're telling you how they view themselves and what they feel they are missing. Most people listen to respond. You must listen to decode. Every person is silently asking, "Do you see me? Do you understand me? Do you value me?" When your words answer yes to all three, the connection is unbreakable. The echo technique means reflecting back what they mean, not just what they said. You listen for the tremor of fear behind the anger or the need for validation behind the complaint. If someone says, "I hate my job," most people offer advice on how to quit. But an intelligent echo would be, "It sounds like you feel your contributions are being overlooked and you're ready for a challenge that actually respects your potential." Notice the shift. You didn't give advice. You gave them the experience of being understood. This builds an immediate bridge of trust. Always try to echo the higher version of their expression. If they are overwhelmed, echo their dedication. This works because the human need for understanding is as fundamental as the need for air. Once that trust is established, you can then frame your own ideas in a way that matches their psychological frequency. If they value security, show them how your idea provides a safety net. If they value status, show them how it leads to achievement. You aren't changing your message. You're changing the lens through which they see it. Use this to build more meaningful, supportive relationships. When you use the echo to serve the best interests of others, it becomes a profound tool for leadership and connection. Number 6, ambiguous morality. You are neither a saint nor a villain. You are a pragmatist who prioritizes results. Real power doesn't always exist in the black and white. It thrives in the gray. Machiavelli noted that if one must choose, it is safer to be feared than loved. This is perhaps the most debated aspect of dark intelligence. So let us be precise. Ambiguous morality does not mean having no morals. It does not mean being a hollow opportunist or hurting people for sport. It means having the maturity to realize that the world is messy. Sometimes a nice action in the short term creates a catastrophic outcome in the long term. Sometimes being polite only enables destructive behavior. Pure moral clarity is often a luxury that those in high-stakes situations simply cannot afford. Consider a leadership scenario where a team member is consistently dishonest. The nice thing is to give them a fifth chance and more training. But what about the integrity of the team? What about the clients being lied to? What about the survival of the organization? A leader with ambiguous morality understands that kindness to the deceiver is cruelty to the honest. They make the hard decision to remove that person, not out of malice, but out of pragmatic ethics. Or imagine a friend in a toxic relationship. The kind thing is to be quietly supportive. But a pragmatist might decide that true kindness requires a harsh, uncomfortable truth that temporarily hurts their feelings but saves their future. The core principle here is to focus on outcomes over appearances. Sometimes the action that looks harsh on the surface is the only one that yields a better result for everyone involved. This requires a shift in your internal compass. Stop asking, "Does this make me look like a good person?" and start asking, "Does this lead to the best outcome for the most people?" This approach demands that you take absolute responsibility for the consequences of your choices. Crucially, this is not selfishness. You aren't doing what's easy for you. You're doing what's necessary for the greater good. It involves understanding that different contexts require different tools. Complete honesty is vital for a marriage, but strategic disclosure is vital for a corporate merger. The danger, of course, is using this to justify ego-driven behavior. To avoid this, you must have rigid, non-negotiable personal boundaries. Know which lines you will never cross. Within those boundaries, give yourself the freedom to be strategic and effective, even if the world doesn't always understand your methods. Your goal isn't to win a popularity contest. It's to be the effective, ethical person who gets things done in a complicated world. Number 7, controlled exposure. In an era of oversharing, the person who reveals themselves strategically is the one who commands the room. Machiavelli observed that the simple-minded are so dominated by their immediate needs that a deceitful person will always find a willing audience. While most people are broadcasting every mundane detail of their lives on social media, you must do the opposite. Controlled exposure is about being the intentional architect of your own image. When everyone is shouting their thoughts, the person who maintains a degree of mystery becomes a magnet for intrigue. This isn't an outdated concept. It is more powerful now than ever before. Let's look at the science. The curiosity gap is one of the most potent drivers of human behavior. When we encounter a puzzle with a piece missing, our brains are hardwired to fixate on it until we find the solution. By practicing controlled exposure, you create these curiosity gaps. Think of the most captivating person in your circle. They likely share just enough to keep you engaged, but always leave you with a lingering question. In a professional setting, this means not revealing the full extent of your capabilities on day one. If you reveal your skills gradually over a year, you create a narrative of constant growth and untapped potential. In social life, it means not handing your life story to every stranger you meet. Share your personal world as a reward for earned trust. This isn't about being secretive for no reason. It's about being strategic with your own value. In a negotiation, never put your full list of constraints on the table early. Keep your reserves for the moment they will be most impactful. Remember, information can never be unshared. Once it's out, you can't take it back, so it is always safer to reveal too little than too much. Timing is also vital. The same achievement can look like bragging if shared too early, or like humble competence if shared exactly when it solves a problem. You must also tailor your exposure to your audience. Your family, your competitors, and your employees should each have access to a different folder of your personality. This isn't being fake, it's being appropriate. Finally, manage your digital footprint with extreme care. Everything you post is a brick in the monument of your reputation. The goal of controlled exposure is to maintain total command over your own narrative. It allows you to guide how the world perceives you and prevents others from stereotyping you based on incomplete data. Share enough to connect, but keep enough to remain the master of your own strategy. Number 8, outcome obsession. You aren't interested in winning points, winning debates, or looking smart. You are only interested in results. The person who focuses exclusively on the final outcome never wastes energy on ego-driven games. Machiavelli once noted that a promise made in the past is often a casualty of a necessity in the present. This trait is the ultimate dividing line between the amateur and the professional. Most people are constantly distracted by secondary goals. They want to be right, they want to be liked, or they want to feel validated. Outcome obsession silences all of that. It forces you to ask better questions. Instead of, how can I win this argument? You ask, what is the specific result I need from this person? In a disagreement, most people focus on catching their opponent in a lie or proving their own intellectual superiority. An outcome-obsessed person asks, what do I actually need from this interaction? Do you need a compromise? Do you need them to change their behavior? If your goal is to change someone's behavior, proving them wrong is usually the worst way to do it because people become more entrenched when their ego is attacked. A smarter approach is to lead them to the right conclusion so they feel they discovered it themselves. If your goal is a long-term partnership, being right on a small point is often a net loss. In business, this means focusing on what moves the needle, not what gets you the most applause in a meeting. It means making data-driven decisions rather than ego-driven ones. In your personal life, it means choosing to protect the health of a relationship over winning a petty fight. In your own growth, it means measuring yourself by your tangible progress, not by how hard you feel you're working. This mindset prevents the trap of busy work. Many people confuse motion with progress. The outcome-obsessed person uses strategic laziness. They ignore the 80% of activities that don't matter and focus entirely on the 20% that produce real-world results. They aren't trying to be the hardest worker. They're trying to be the most effective one. But again, maintain your boundaries. Outcome obsession is a poison if it makes you abandon your humanity or your ethics. Your definition of success must include maintaining your integrity and contributing to your community. The beauty of this trait is flexibility. Most people get attached to their specific plans. The outcome-obsessed person is only attached to the goal. If one path is blocked, they pivot instantly. They aren't stubborn about the how. They're only stubborn about the what. This makes you resilient and incredibly dangerous to compete with. You become the person who consistently delivers, which is the most valuable reputation you can ever build. You have now been introduced to the 8 pillars of dark intelligence. But realize this: knowledge without execution is just noise. I want you to select just one of these traits that truly resonated with you today. For the next 7 days, practice that single trait in your everyday interactions. Don't try to master the whole list at once. Focus on one. Observe how people's reactions change. Notice the sense of control you feel when you operate from strategy instead of impulse. But remember our pact. This power is a responsibility. Use it to protect, to build, and to create better futures for everyone. We need more people who can see through manipulation and act as a shield for those who cannot. We need leaders who can navigate the gray areas and find the best path forward for the common good. That is the real evolution of dark intelligence. Not becoming a monster, but becoming someone who cannot be broken by one. Not gaining dominion over others, but gaining absolute dominion over yourself. While the person with nothing to lose is a threat, the person who understands the human psyche and uses it to elevate the world is indispensable. Which one do you choose to be? If this perspective has shifted your understanding of power, show your support by hitting that like button. If you are ready to master the intricacies of human behavior and strategy, subscribe and turn on your notifications. Leave a comment below. Which of these 8 traits do you see most often in successful leaders? And which one will you implement starting today? Until next time, remember that true intelligence isn't just about processing information. It's about having the wisdom to use that information for a purpose higher than yourself. Stay strategic, stay ethical, and stay powerful.